pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome you, and those of you watching on social media, welcome to you as well. Future board members, February 9th and 23rd here at 6 p.m. and on March 9th here at 6 p.m. We have no revisions to the agenda, so we'll move on to public recognition. We have a recommendation to approve a $52.30 donation for Southwood Elementary from the Box Top for Education for student use. We also have a recommendation to approve the donation of a cricket machine, cartridges, and storage container from Megan Henderson for Southwood Elementary. Estimated value $475 based on new and used pricing. We have a motion to accept those.
I move to accept.
Second. Motion and second to accept the donations. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Looking for my pen because I forgot to put that down. Student recognition, or school recognition, I guess it is.
Yeah, so we'll start out, Mr. McDaniel's here as our principal representation tonight, and he has several things he wants to share.
Sure, absolutely. I want to start off with Aaliyah Douglas. She's a 12th grader, and she advanced out of regionals and made it to the girls' state wrestling finals. And on January 15th, she competed at Hamilton Heights High School, wrestled against the top female wrestlers in the state, and ended up with an 8th place finish. So very proud of her. Congratulations to her. Southwood High School is also proud to announce we received another exemplary behavior report from the IHSAA. One of the game officials writes, the exemplary behavior report is a great tool to recognize student athletes. As a basketball official, I feel it is very important to look for the positive aspects of athletic competition. It was obvious that the Southwood coaching staff emphasized sportsmanship within their program. This young lady, Elena Weiner, was a joy to officiate tonight. She always had a smile on her face and displayed outstanding sportsmanship on the court. Her positive attitude was noticeable amongst the officiating crew. And so I just want to say this is a real testament to the work that Coach Norman is doing with the kids, playing very hard for him. And so, in fact, going to go see him tonight against Northfield in a little bit. But it never gets old to receive those exemplary behavior reports from the IHSAA. Also, a staff member passed on a message to me and wanted to recognize Mrs. Warford. She's a special education aide in the building with us, and so we just want to recognize her contributions. This year she has gone above and beyond in her job responsibilities. In fact, given some staff absences, she's worked hard to make sure teacher situations have been taken care of. She has maintained the daily schedule of reading accommodations for students on an IEP, made photocopies for students, and has been in communication with classroom teachers when absent. So we're really thankful for her. It's been great. And want to talk about Connor Rich. Friday would have been the 22nd. Our boys traveled up to Tippecanoe Valley for basketball, and so he achieved his 1,000th point on Friday. So an awesome thing for him. And so really excited about that. From a personal perspective, I want to talk about just the other day, last Friday, I got back from a COVID jail. Recovered from COVID. But in coming back, I was really taken aback by how many kids said, hey, welcome back, glad you're back. And so I think that speaks to kind of the culture that we have at Southwood. I think maybe in my former role as the assistant principal when I was in discipline and attendance, I probably wouldn't have received so but we're really thankful for that. So,
I'd like to add on to what Mr. McDaniel said as far as Mrs. Warford. We typically in the past have done the staff spotlights. Of course, because of COVID, we decided not to do that. And so we have some other ones that are actually saying, which is interesting, that say, well, where is that where you sign up? I think Chris saw something or something was given to him, like, where do we do that? We're not doing it right now, but we asked them to go ahead and just put it on the staff recognition. And so we appreciate those people and to recognize those people that are doing outstanding things. So thank you, Mr. McDaniel. And if you want to go ahead and go, you're welcome to go so you can get to your, okay.
When we were touring Southwood the other day, the board, going through the gym there, Dan Snyder, Coach Snyder, we know each other, and he said, I just want to tell you, this is a great school. And I know he's retiring. Compliments to you.
Well, $10 is $10, so, Dan's a good guy, and so we can replace that position, but we're never gonna replace Dan. And he's a fantastic guy, and so we love him. So.
Learned a long time ago, we all can be replaced, but none of us can be replicated, so that's how you say that. So. All right, so thank you, Mr. McDaniel. We'll go on. Mr. Snyder has some things here. First of all, congratulations to Mr. Roger Votal. Denny Krapp from the Urbana Lions Club came to honor Mr. Roger Votal and his students for all they have done over the past years to help out the Urbana Lions Club. Mr. Kraft made the comment that they always ask Mr. Votal for a couple students to come help. The students come, and Mr. Votal comes to stay and help out right along with the students. Mr. Votal was presented with the W.P. Woods Fellowship, which is the highest honor bestowed by the Lions Indiana Foundation. So congratulations to Mr. Votal. And just to point out, Mr. Votal is the key club sponsor, which is part of Kiwanis. Kiwanis does great work. So we're glad that works out that way. Also, there are a lot of things here. I don't know if I'll read all of this, but back on, this is from Mr. Snyder, July 9th, 13 Northfield art students competed in the Scholastics National Art and Writing Competition with 40 pieces of artwork. Scholastics, no, not the book order company, but the name is a well-known art competition for students grades 7 through 12. The competition begins with judging at a regional level. Our region is northern Indiana, parts of northwest Ohio, and southwest Michigan. The following students received awards at the regional judging and will have artwork on display at the Fort Wayne Museum of Art from February 13th to April 10th. And so just to give you some information, Emma Bone, Mixed Media, honorable mention. Grant Dale, Ceramics, honorable mention. Chloe Miller, Drawing, Illustration, honorable mention. Trinity Shockham, Ceramics, second honorable mentions, or 2 honorable mentions. And Grant Dale also Ceramics, silver medal. Chloe Miller, Mixed Media, silver medal. Grant Dale again, Ceramics, 2 gold medals. Chloe Miller, Mixed Media, gold medal. Trinity again, Ceramics, silver portfolio, 1 of 4 awarded in region. That's excellent. Grant Dale, Ceramics, gold portfolio, 1 of only 3 in the region. And Northfield is very proud of the work of our students. They persevered through COVID interruptions and won 12 awards at the regional level. All gold and silver awards will move on to the national judging later this year. So if you see, and here again, I just scrolled down, so that's going to be hard to find where I'm looking at this again. If you see, that's what it said next. Sometimes technologies, let's see if this works. Apologize for the delay here. How does that work? Well, if you see any of these work, congratulate them. It just will not even scroll down correctly. So thank you for that. And you might have seen that in the paper, I believe, and maybe in the Wabash Plain Dealer. There were some things listed, so that was very good. If I see it later during the meeting, I might interrupt and tell you again, but it just won't scroll right. Also, Mr. Snyder says Northfield girls basketball received an exemplary behavior report from IHSAA. One of the officials wrote, I was impressed with the respectfulness of the team and coaches during the night's contest and numerous displays of sportsmanship, especially noted sportsmanship from number 25, Kyra Kennedy, fouling a player and knocking her to the floor, then lending a hand to help her up and apologizing to the player and to me. Thank you, Kyra, and at NHS Lady Norse for your respect and sportsmanship. Continue to go on here. There's some more. From Mrs. Moore at Metro North parent Jessica B. recently shared her appreciation for the first grade teacher, Mrs. Stacy Bone. Mrs. Bean's daughter was in Mrs. Bone's class during the 1920 school year and commented that during our school closure, Mrs. Bone went above and beyond to ensure every student had someone to talk with, and she was there for the students. As a parent, she appreciates Mrs. Bone believing in her child's dreams and pushing her and others to be the best person they can be. Mrs. Bean went on to share that her daughter adores Mrs. Bone and that beautiful souls like hers are not ones you come across often. Thank you, Mrs. Bone, for your passion and dedication to our students. That's one that we saw also. We asked him just to put it on here since we're not doing the spotlight. And then from Mr. Martin at Sharp Creek, we'd like to thank substitute teachers Tony McKillop, Christy Good, and Cheryl Hodson for their multiple days of working in our building recently. They all did a great job. And we do know without our substitutes, this year especially with COVID, we would not have been able to have school. So we appreciate them very much. So that's all of our recognitions for tonight. Mr. Gansey?
All right. We'll move on to public comment for agenda items only. We have no public, but we'll wait for those on Facebook. If we have anybody.
And I did get it to work on this finally. So
Okay.
if I can finish what it said,
Okay.
because it recognizes a teacher, and he's a new teacher, and we want to recognize him. Says, if you see any of these students, please congratulate them. Thank you to Mr. Adams-Weevil and the art students for the job well done. And we know that he's a new student, a new teacher, art teacher at Northfield, doing a great job, lives in the community, works with the Honeywell Foundation, has his own professional positions that he does as far as with artwork, and so he is really leading them to do and motivate to do well, as you can see from all of the honors that they received.
Okay, so we didn't have anything from public, so consent agenda items moving forward, we need the approval of the minutes, and I'm just gonna go ahead and lump all three of those official meetings that we had last time into one approval of minutes. That would be the finance meeting, the reorganization meeting, and our regular meeting.
Move to approve,
Motion and second to approve the minutes of our previous meetings. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Financials, claims.
I was thinking the other day about how blessed we've been without snow to not have all the plowing expenses, but then
Then you saw
I saw that, and I'm thinking, I'm outside every day, I don't remember.
Don't remember those, do we?
Yeah, is that for salting or?
Yeah, there was one day where we had minimal snow accumulation on the ground and clearing out the parking lots.
And then that December 1st, was, well, I guess that would have been on.
Yeah, that
Our
was
policy's still
within
the
recently.
same, Steve Holly makes
Yep.
a call. and
Yep.
They're paid by the snowfall
Amount of salt
or?
and or push. Steve usually makes that decision on whether the parking lots need plowed and when.
The only other one I had was a tractor for Northfield. I didn't know TTG sold tractors that cheap, I can't.
I don't know if it's really a
Is that
tractor or a
a
lawnmower. But yeah.
That's for mowing the athletics.
No, that's for helping push snow and things like that for sidewalks and other things. It does not have a mowing deck on it.
So it's like a garden tractor?
Yeah. Yeah. The ones we had are old and they needed updated.
Hopefully they negotiate a good price.
Yeah.
Clint should have helped him.
I move to claims.
Second.
Motion and second to approve claims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Payroll.
Not much with payroll, pretty consistent on what it should be. No extras.
I move to payroll.
Motion and second to approve payroll. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Financial summary.
I have no financial summary since we covered all of that at the finance meeting. Typically, this meeting would be where we looked at the end of the month, which would have been the end of December, but we already looked at that in our Board of Finance meeting.
Yeah, I kept looking through my packet and didn't say anything about that, so. Okay, moving on to personnel. So very short. Under employment, Amy Presick, teacher at White High School. Hope I said that correctly, Amy?
Yes, you do.
Okay. And then under leave, we have number 123, and you see the approximate dates there for that leave to occur.
And just as a reminder, Amy will be taking the position of Gary Grandchamp, who retired.
I'll move to approve HR.
Second.
Motion and second to approve HR. All in favor, say aye. Moving on to reports, Heartland Career Center, Matt.
Well, I wish I had one.
Okay.
I had a machinery breakdown, I couldn't go. But I did call them in to make a motion on minutes because they didn't have enough people that were there before. So, and on the agenda, there wasn't a whole lot going on, so, but
Okay.
I really don't have a good report.
Superintendent's report, Mr. Kefauver.
Yeah, I just want to say tonight, we're very pleased to say that we do not have any active COVID positive cases, whether it's staff or students. And so today, we were going to get our last quarantine students back. And when I say quarantine students, those would be those students that are close contacts, or also they have a positive. Now, we still do have some students that are out, if they have COVID-like symptoms, then they actually go home and they're on a list. But I think the list that Mr. Drake ran this morning was like 37, so there are still some on quarantine, but those would be typical for this time of year anyway, that would be similar to like being the flu or colds or things like that. And so, but we do still have them on a quarantine list. And just to let you know, for the first would be 17 days of school counting today. The 17 days of school, we've actually only had 4, and probably I shouldn't be saying this because I said something the other day, and Chris said that maybe I jinxed it, but I did not jinx it because we were still going down. But we only had 4 positive cases in those 17 days. So, and also when you saw some of the things that I send out at MSD All and also to the school board report, you know, the state was really red 2 weeks ago. Last week, a lot less red, more orange. And of course, we're just kind of hovering around that positivity rate of 6, 7, or 8%. So Wabash County is doing really, really well, and hope we can just keep it going so we don't have to send those students home that are positive, or not positive, but if they're close contacts and miss those educational opportunities. So just want to give a positive report about that. Maybe shouldn't use the word positive, but a good report.
Trump said it would disappear.
What?
Yes, he did. Poof, it's gone, right? So,
All right, Mr. Drake, do you have anything for the curriculum?
I would just add a little more to what Mr. Kefauver started to talk about. There's lots of research coming out. There's lots of specialists coming out to just say it's good to have kids in school. And so I appreciate Mr. Kefauver's efforts and everybody else around the county trying to reduce the number of kids that we're contact tracing and trying to look for ways to keep kids in the building. And so I feel like we're especially well placed in the area. But again, Brown University just released a study. The president is coming out and talking about trying to get, like, everybody at every level is saying we got to get kids in school. And so I just appreciate Mr. Kefauver's efforts on that and your guys' support for that. And hopefully we get even more kids in school for longer. So,
Question, how many kids do we still have out taking visual?
we allowed, so those kids had to have a doctor's note saying that they or someone in their household was at a high risk. And so of that group, we are down to 26, and that's K to 12 in every building.
That's not many.
Not many at all. And we do have some RISE students that are that we don't include in that, but those would be like Vernon Manor, like very high risk children. And so 26 K to 12, about 12 kids, 1 through 6, and about 12 kids, 14 kids, then 7 through 12. And so, and our push, you guys might be curious, our push to require the doctor's note You know, it's a little bit of trepidation, like they're gonna go find some other virtual program or do something. But out of 100 or so kids that we started with, we really had only 2 kids choose other programs. We got a lot of parents that came back. Some of them fighting kids that did not want to come back. And so it has been we have been very fortunate. And when I talk to other curriculum directors around the area, they're having huge questions of what do you do with these kids that have been out all year? And they're talking about hundreds of kids or thousands of kids. And do you move them on to the next grade level? What kind of testing and remediation? And so we have just been very fortunate, I feel like, and everything has kind of come together.
And that's a testament to so many people working so hard to be able to communicate with the parents and let them know how important it is, and also just with the students that were in school and not having a lot of situations with, you know, making sure everybody's safe. And a lot of work, a lot of phone calls, administrators and teachers and everybody involved to make it work. And, you know, we're taking some risk as far as, you know, saying, okay, we need to do this because we really feel like, and sometimes you take a risk because you want to have the kids to come because we know it's better for them to be in school. So it's not really a risk, but it's just a challenge to let them know that, you know, we're doing the proper protocol and doing things to make it work, so.
So we're up over 98% people actually attending in class and not virtual.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly like a balance, a realistic balance of trying to maintain the safety versus trying to balance the child's needs. And it is not an easy answer for any family, but yeah.
All right, we'll move on to new business, and I hesitate calling it new business because all we've done since last March is talk about COVID. So under new business, our recommendation to approve the COVID-19 additional leave resolution. Would you like to speak to that, Mr. Keith?
Yeah, as you recall, we brought to you the additional leave resolution last meeting, and then we had actually a change to that with our school attorney that gave us some advice about doing that. You never really signed it, but you voted on it based on the decision. After more discussion and just thinking about how it works in reality, we felt like it just needed to be changed and be a little closer to what the Families First Coronavirus Response Act is, and so that's basically what it is. So instead of going with the 10 days after they use their own days or whatever as far as any staff members, we're actually doing the same thing as what we did the first semester. So if there's anything going on with a close contact, positive, then they will get 10 days just like they did first day. It resets. If somebody used 10 days at the beginning of first semester, they could also use 10 days if they're a close contact or a positive for that. And this would also then go back to start January 4th when we started our semester. So
I think legally what we have to do, and Mr. Downs can cover this, if we're going to rescind our vote from last time, we actually have to make a motion and a second to rescind that and then vote on this. Is that correct?
Does this actually contain language rescinding the other?
Yes,
it does already have it in there. It has language in there. It says it's in the the fourth paragraph. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, fourth paragraph.
Okay.
So I think you could do it all at once. Just by
Okay.
adopting this, that would automatic.
That was
rescind it.
automatic, okay. I just want to make it clear that we're trying to make sure that we're following the protocols of.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, Robert's Rules of Order. Okay, so if we have that included, we're good. Any other discussion on this? I mean, we basically know what we approved last time, and based on Mr. Keyfaber's additional tonight was that it's just changing when that occurs.
And we did add the second bullet there, you can see too, as far as the prior, if they can telework, and this happened at the beginning of our first semester also, if they could telework, then they actually were not counted against any kind of days, whether it's COVID days, whether it's personal days, whether it's, you know, sick leave days. But that has to be approved by the principal or the director. In other words, transportation director, food service director, or even a director of nursing. So that's a little bit different too.
Well, I move to the additional leave resolution.
Sorry.
We have a motion and second to approve the additional leave resolution. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next up under new business, a recommendation to approve the scholarship for the 2020-2021 to be $500 each for Northfield and Southwood, like we apparently did last year. I don't remember that, but that's certainly fine. I think at our last meeting, we did approve it to be $300 per student, so this would change that. Is there any additional information you had there, Mr. Kiefer?
Yeah, so last year, when you go back to the, not to the minutes, but when you go back to the agenda of that reorganization meeting said the $120 that you guys would donate, and so it ended up being the $300. And so during that same meeting, it was decided then, so instead of going back to the minutes, we went back to the agenda and failed to see that there was a change in that. And so last year you did do that, so I just wanted to make sure, and I think I mentioned that to you earlier, if there was any problems with it, but I'm just recommending it because that's what we've done before. So if you don't want to do it, then obviously we don't have to, but that's what we did last year.
I don't have a problem with it. I know especially since last March, you know, the economy's getting tighter and tighter, so whatever we can do to help these students out even more to do some sort of post-secondary. So I'm okay bumping it from 3 to, well, keeping it at 5 technically. If we did it at 5,
Yeah.
we're keeping it there instead of going backwards.
I'll move to approve that,
Second.
Motion and second to approve the recommendation to ensure that the board scholarship is $500 each for Northfield and Southwood. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And for Christian, I will give him just the application so he can look at it in case, you know, I don't know who's gonna do that this year. This is an old one, but then when you're done just looking at it, so you know what it's about, then you can pass it on to Scott then at some point. So, and again, that's from last year, but it won't be any different. I mean, the only difference will be on the date, so.
And the essays that the students write.
Right. Well, I mean, that's just a
Yeah.
template or an application, just so he knows what it is.
All right. Next item under new business is a recommendation to approve the purchase of new buses.
So I gave you the documentation, it includes some more information just for some of the new members. This represents our entire vehicle fleet, so not just buses, but other maintenance vehicles, etc. The red represents what we've recently salvaged, so those are no longer a part of it, so those are gone. And then the yellow represents the spares. So we currently have 42 buses in our fleet, 36 yellows and 6 whites. Of our yellows, we have 28 active and 8 spares. And so our recommendation then is to purchase 1 activity bus and 2 yellow regular buses at those costs. And the following documentation just gives you kind of a comparison between those bus purchases. These will be, the yellows will be built buses from scratch. The activity bus actually is, there'll be new buses, but they've already been, they're already in the process of being stock buses. So they're in the process of being completed as far as the build is concerned. And so those came a little bit cheaper from that aspect. So that's our recommendation. This was a recommendation made not only by myself, but by our transportation director and our mechanic who works on the buses. As you can see, some of those activity buses being built from scratch getting pretty expensive up there. So we went up, I didn't go up, but Melissa and Kyle went up and looked at some of the stock buses that they're building up at Curlin's, which those Thomas buses came back to be the cheaper option anyway. But there was a few things that they wanted to change on the bus that would be a little bit of additional cost. but very similar to the activity buses that we purchased in the past. It's obviously a different brand, because these would be Thomas's, and I think the other ones we got were Starcrafts. They no longer build Starcrafts. So
Too bad that winter warm-up equipment would not include heated seats, but there's no charge there. So.
no charge for heated seats.
How many miles do you guess on the average these are when they phase them out? Yeah.
I'd have to ask Kyle with that. I know, like, for example, and I don't know how many miles it has, the sped buses. Typical buses are supposed to go for 12 years. After 12 years, they have to have 2 inspections a year, and usually they cost a lot more to upkeep and so forth. So typical lifespan is about 12 years, but for like a sped bus, for us, it's about half of that, because those buses drive all day long. But I don't know, as far as mileage, I can find that out.
Well, it's more of a vocational type use too, start, stop, start, stop.
Yeah. Our buses that travel in the city have a lot more start stops than those that are out in the country.
Your projection there, I just found that a little interesting. What is that, 4 or 5%? I didn't do the math.
I do 4% each year, and then once we get like a current price, then I can kind of go in and reflect that a little bit more. To do that, if you remember, we submit this bus replacement plan as part of our budget process. It used to be a 12-year plan. I still keep it kind of as a 12-year plan, but we only have to submit it for 5 years, which then makes it a little bit easier to go in and make adjustments and be a little closer to what a bus might cost within that 5 years. So, I just do a 4% markup each year.
I've always appreciated the fact that we're able to own and not have to lease.
Yep. And the buses typically take 4 to 6 months to build. And with COVID last year, it took longer. One of our buses got held up like almost 3 months before we do that. We do a bus inspection every summer in July, so we like to get the new buses in so that they can be inspected with the rest of our fleet, because they have to be inspected before they can be legal on the road.
Who does that?
State police.
State police does. They come in and do that and certify the buses from the inspection. But anyway, we like to order the buses around this time of year because of the time frame it takes to build those. And then with COVID, you probably add a couple months to that, even getting that bus in. So usually we like to try to get those ordered by end of January.
We're buying these direct, not through a purchasing group then, or?
It is through a purchasing group, yep.
I didn't pay attention.
And that purchasing group then breaks down the 3 different types of buses: the Bluebirds, the ICs, and the Thomases. And then we selected Thomases last year, and Kyle kind of likes that type of bus to work on. Plus, the service is a little bit closer if something goes wrong with Curlin's being down the road. So that's where the buses will be bought from.
I'll move to approve the purchase of 2 buses and 1 activity bus, correct?
Yes.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the purchase of 2 new yellow buses and a activity bus. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Recommendation to approve the overnight extended trip for Northfield seniors to Orlando and Cocoa Beach in March.
Sounds like a nice place to go, doesn't it? So
Shopping.
Yeah.
I'll let you go, Matt.
Will they?
Yeah, for sure.
I could probably swing those dates off.
Second.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Matt did.
Matt, okay. Motion and second to approve the overnight trip to Orlando, Cocoa Beach. They're in March. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Don't have any unfinished business. Fourth policy to deal with tonight. Public comment. Okay, so any items from board members? Okay, we're adjourned.